Hello everyone. Today we are going to look into a very important topic which is related to current affair. Okay, so in today's class of economics, I am going to discuss internationalization of Indian rupee. Also, people talk about de-dollarization. Okay, they are very related, and also this is also falling into a broader topic of what we call the exchange rate management. Okay, so if you look at it, when we talk about internationalization of Indian rupee, so what does it mean? Why India is suddenly talking about internationalizing our currency? Okay, so some basic things we are going to look at it. And from exam point of view, this topic I would say is quite an important topic because very much current affair का context में इस topic का सवाल एग्जाम में आपको पूछने का चांसेस है. अभी पहला ये देखते हैं एक्सचेंज रेट. एक्सचेंज रेट का मतलब क्या होता है और ये एक्सचेंज रेट टॉपिक में इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन रुपी को हम कैसे ला सकते हैं. सो फर्स्ट थिंग यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड एक्सचेंज रेट जनरली टॉक्स अबाउट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट एक्सचेंज रेट. सपोज मुझे आज $1 की जरूरत है. सो मैं $1 खरीदने के लिए बैंक में जाता हूं, बैंक में बोलता हूं मुझे $1 चाहिए. तो बैंक में मुझसे कितना रुपया मांगते हैं. That means how many rupees I have to pay in order to get $1. Suppose बैंक ने मुझे बोला कि तुम 83 रुपीस कुछ दे दो, चलो आपको $1 मिल जाएगा. मतलब आपका अकाउंट में हम डॉलर डिपॉजिट कर देंगे, मतलब किसको भी आपको ट्रांसफर करना है वो कर देंगे. तो इसका मतलब क्या है, 83 रुपीस पे करने से मुझे $1 मिलेगा. दैट इज जनरल आइडिया ऑफ व्हाट वी कॉल एक्सचेंज रेट. तो इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक्सचेंज रेट में इंडिया का हमेशा प्रॉब्लम क्या है, वी हैव आवर प्रॉब्लम विद द डॉलर वर्सेस रुपी. नॉर्मली क्या होता है, डॉलर का डिमांड बढ़ते बढ़ते जाने से रुपी बिकम्स डेप्रिशिएटिंग एंड डेप्रिशिएटिंग. तो इंडिया में इसकी वजह से डॉलर का शॉर्टेज भी हो जाता है एंड दैट कैन क्रिएट अ न्यू प्रॉब्लम विच वी फेस लॉन्ग टाइम अगो, द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ बीओपी क्राइसिस. सो why we have a BOP crisis? Because there can be possibly a shortage of foreign currency. That means we cannot do any more import. Import करने के लिए हमें foreign currency चाहिए. तो इस समय में एक situation, एक economic crisis हो सकता है. That is what generally we call it as a BOP crisis. जैसा last year श्रीलंका में हुआ था, अभी पाकिस्तान में चल रहा है. You know, they are all facing a BOP crisis. So now, what is the basic idea, concept of exchange rate? Generally, if you look at it, I have just taken a simple image to put this concept clear. What is the exchange rate? Basically, we say the rate at which, the general rate which मैंने आपको explain किया था, the rate at which we convert our local Indian currency for a single unit of another currency. मतलब ये foreign currency. That is what we generally call it as a exchange rate. तो इंडियन करेंसी इज आवर रूपी. सो हाउ मेनी रुपीस हमें पे करना है इन ऑर्डर टू गेट अनदर कंट्री का करेंसी, से यूएस डॉलर. ओके, सो दैट बिकम्स व्हाट वी कैन से द सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एक्सचेंज रेट. ओके, नाउ टू गो लिटिल बिट टेक्निकली, व्हाट इज द एक्सचेंज रेट? Even though we are saying exchange rate is the conversion of one currency into another foreign currency, but in economic term generally we can say exchange rate is the price. जैसा हमें टोमेटो, अनियन, पोटैटो या चिकन, मटन, फिश जो भी खरीदना है, तो मार्केट में जाने से वो लोग क्या बोलते हैं, चलो यू पे अस 80 रुपीज फॉर 1 किलो टोमेटो, या यू पे 100 रुपीज फॉर 1 किलो अनियन. यू नो, दिस इज द प्राइस ऑफ द अनियन या टोमेटो. नाउ इन प्लेस ऑफ अनियन एंड टोमेटो यू थिंक अबाउट a dollar. So I want $1 and for that $1 if they are asking me you pay 85 rupees, that 85 rupees is what? It is the price of one foreign currency का unit. It could be dollar, it could be euro, it could be yen. तो जो भी foreign currency हमें खरीदना है उस currency का price क्या है, that price is technically speaking is the exchange rate. Okay, so that is the simple concept of what we mean by exchange rate. Now coming to the Indian context, ये जो हमारा एक्सचेंज रेट है, ओके, इसको एक सिंपल एक्सप्लेनेशन हम दे सकते हैं. इंडिया का जो एक्सचेंज रेट है दैट डिपेंड्स ऑन व्हाट वी कैन से डिमांड एंड सप्लाई। इसका मतलब क्या है, इंडिया में रहने वाले कुछ लोगों को डॉलर की जरूरत है, राइट, सो दैट क्रिएट्स व्हाट वी कॉल द डिमांड फॉर डॉलर। सिमिलरली इंडिया में डॉलर सप्लाई भी होता है, मतलब क्या है, कुछ कुछ लोग इंडिया में डॉलर लेके आते हैं फॉरेन करेंसी से, दैट इज व्हाट वी कैन से द सप्लाई ऑफ डॉलर। तो अभी हम एक छोटा सा एनालिसिस करने वाले हैं, इंडिया में डॉलर किसको चाहिए, व्हाई देयर इज अ डिमांड फॉर सो मच डॉलर इन इंडिया, मतलब हु आर द पीपल जो डॉलर ज्यादा यूज करना चाहते हैं, जिसकी वजह से हमारा एक्सचेंज रेट के ऊपर प्रेशर भी बढ़ता है। सो द बेसिक क्वेश्चन, किसको डॉलर चाहिए, यू नो, दैट इज द सिंपल क्वेश्चन। सो नाउ इफ यू लुक एट इट, द फर्स्ट थिंग हम लोग बोल सकते हैं, डॉलर इज डिमांडेड बाय दोस ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल व्हाट वी कॉल बिजनेसमैन, जो इंपोर्ट का बिजनेस करते हैं। समझ लो हमने पेट्रोल मतलब क्रूड ऑयल इंपोर्ट किया, या मोबाइल इंपोर्ट किया, कपड़ा इंपोर्ट किया, टेक्नोलॉजी इंपोर्ट किया, ये सब चीजों के लिए हमें क्या चाहिए, पेमेंट करना चाहिए। तो हम कैसा पेमेंट करेंगे, वी बेसिकली विल पे देम इन फॉरेन करेंसी, जनरली डोमिनेटेड बाय द यूएस डॉलर। सो द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, whenever we do import business we have to pay them in foreign currency, therefore foreign currency is in demand. Okay, that is the first factor. The second important factor, why do we need foreign currency, this is a very very important thing. Now all most Indians nowadays are busy with this, what is it called, traveling to foreign country. For what, either it could be for tourism, right, you can go for a tourism, yeah, you can even go for a medical checkup, some special treatment, yeah, you go to a foreign country for your study, you take admission in some foreign university. लेकिन जो भी पर्पस के लिए आप फॉरेन जाएंगे, द बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट इज व्हाट, यू कैन नॉट कैरी द इंडियन रूपी टू पे देयर, आई मीन आई एम सेइंग सो फार. Now we are talking about the internationalization of rupee, so you will understand with this background why we have to do internationalization of rupee. So now जो इंडियन सिटीजन इंडिया से बाहर ट्रेवल करता है, उसको फॉरेन कंट्री में जाने से उधर पेमेंट करने के लिए क्या होता है, उसको फॉरेन करेंसी की जरूरत होती है. दैट इज व्हाई all the people traveling from India to foreign currency, they create a demand for the foreign currency. So that is the second most important thing, but the travel could be for different purposes. Point number 3, investment abroad. इसका मतलब क्या है, इंडिया में भी ऐसा कोई बिजनेस लोग है, पैसे वाले हैं, वो सोचते हैं इंडिया के बाहर फॉरेन कंट्री में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. So now what happens, you want to purchase some assets, yeah, you want to buy a company ka share in foreign country, or you want to start your own business in foreign country. तो ये सब के लिए क्या करना पड़ता है, you have to make an investment in foreign country. तो इसके लिए इसको क्या करना पड़ेगा, basically they have to convert the local rupee into a foreign currency. Then what happens, then they can carry the foreign currency and make investment in foreign country. So now try to understand, जब कोई इंडियन $1 billion फॉरेन कंट्री में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहता है, so what happens, he will create a demand for $1 billion. So the whole question is, do we have in stock so much of dollar, can we provide so much of dollar? So that becomes the issue. So now coming to the point, so who demands foreign currency, yeah, dollar in India? We have one group of people called those who want to invest in foreign countries. The next one, the fourth category of people जो foreign currency को इंडिया में demand create करते हैं, these are what we call those who are repaying the loans taken in foreign currency. Okay, it could be the government, it could be the what you call commercial borrowing, that's called the external commercial borrowing. जब ये सब पैसा फॉरेन करेंसी में बोरो किया जाता है, उसको फॉरेन करेंसी में सेटलमेंट करना पड़ता है, so then they have to repay the loan, for which also then what happens, lot of dollar is demanded, matlab foreign currency is demanded. So making a quick summary, who demands dollar, foreign currency in India? Number one, all those who are doing import business, those who are importing goods, whatever, any technology, even importing services, right? Number two, who demands dollar in India? Those who are traveling from India, going to foreign country, either for study or for medical treatment or for tourism or for any other thing. Number three, who requires dollar in India? Those who are trying to invest in foreign country. And number four, who requires dollar? Those who are trying to repay the borrowed money, for which they have to use foreign currency. Is this clear now? So the first thing we are trying to understand, why we so much talk about dollar, why dollar is in demand. So these we can say are the four major broad area. Now we are going to look at the opposite. इंडिया में फॉरेन करेंसी या डॉलर बोलिए, उसका सप्लाई हमें कहां से मिलता है? So from where do we get this foreign currency? That is another important aspect we have to look at it. So the number one thing we need to understand why our government also ज्यादा फोकस देता है एक्सपोर्ट में, because when you export goods and services, समझ लो पुणे में या महाराष्ट्र में कहीं सिटी में, या समझ लो गुवाहाटी में मेरा एक फैक्ट्री है, या दिल्ली में आपका फैक्ट्री है, या हैदराबाद में आपका फैक्ट्री है, तो अभी यहां से आप क्या करेंगे? एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे, मतलब सेल करेंगे, राइट? सो व्हेन यू सेल whatever goods या services you produced in India to a foreign country, the purchaser in foreign country will pay you in foreign currency. So then means what happen? From foreign country, the US dollar or any other foreign currency will flow into India. That means what? We will be getting, that is what we call supply. We will be getting foreign currency from some other country coming into India. So for that purpose, what we have to do? We have to export either goods या we have to export services. So जब हम goods and services को export करते हैं हमारा देश से, तो हमें क्या मिलता है? We basically get the foreign currency. So that is the first major point. That's why government of India is also very much encouraging export business. For that we have started also special economic zone program. Now recently production linked incentive scheme, the PLI scheme, etc., were started very recently also to promote export. Number two, इंडिया में हमें फॉरेन करेंसी कहां से मिलता है? सप्लाई कहां से आता है? दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कैटेगरी ऑफ पीपल, द पीपल हु ट्रैवल टू इंडिया. फॉर व्हाट? फॉर एनी पर्पस. One of the main purpose in India, lot of people come, is what we call the tourism industry. Lot of people come to India to see our Indian culture, our landscape, and our, what we can say, the natural beauty, including our own Kaziranga also, right? So tourism is a major attraction where we get also a lot of foreign currency. In addition, people also come for studies, they also come for medical treatment, okay? They also come to India for various purposes, right? So travel to India itself is one big reason where we are attracting or we are getting a lot of foreign currency. That is the second reason. Number three, the source from where we get supply of foreign currency. This is a major one as far as our government is concerned. This is what we call investment in India. So if you look at the policy of BJP government in the last, say, 7 or 8 years, going to be now, or almost going to be 10 years, because election is coming very soon. It is 10 years going to be, right? So in the last 10 years, the BJP government has been so much focused on what we call FDI, the foreign direct investment. Now you see, जब foreigners come to India, they invest their money into two ways. Either they will have FDI, that means the foreign direct investment. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? They will come to India, they will set up their business, मतलब they will establish their business either in goods or in services trade directly, or they can even purchase existing some company ka shares, whatever, So then what happens? There we have the foreign direct investment. Another thing is what we call FII, foreign institutional investment, या FPI, foreign portfolio investment. ये क्या होता है FII and FPI? Basically these are the investment made by either foreign institutional investor or a portfolio investor. Basically what they do, they invest in the assets in the capital market like shares, debentures, bonds, etc, etc. Okay, so now for us that is not the question whether it's going into FDI or FII, but any investment coming into India from a foreign country, it basically brings us what we say the dollar. So the important question, India में हमें हमारा डॉलर का सप्लाई कहां से मिलता है? So one of the sources, one of the areas from where we are getting the supply of foreign currency, that is what we call investment from foreign countries into India. Number 4, you should be familiar with this also. Often we don't think about it. We also receive dollar या foreign currency in India when we borrow money that is in foreign currency. Therefore sometimes also आपको newspaper में ये news आता है that RBI permits external commercial borrowing या RBI increases the limit etc etc. ये सब news क्यों आता है? Because when you borrow money in foreign currency, it definitely increases what we can say flow of foreign currency. That means the dollar comes into India. So borrowing itself is a major factor for supply. So now we have looked at two sides. One side we have a need for demand for dollar. On the other side we have a supply, matlab incoming of dollar. So we can think about incoming of dollar, dollar coming into India as a supply, dollar going out of India as demand. Very simple, right? So now let's look at it. How do we decide the exchange rate then? If you go by typical an economic diagram, okay, an economic theory, here on the y-axis you have what we call the exchange rate, right? Here on the x-axis what we have, it is the quantity of dollar and rupee demanded and supplied. So as I already told you, generally we have a demand curve as you see here. This is where the different factors I just now explained to you are creating a demand for dollar. And here what we see is the supply, matlab from where dollar is coming into our country, right? So that is what we call the supply of dollar. Now the point is what I will explain nicely now. So the point what we have to understand is this. On the one side, so on the one side we have a demand for dollar. On the other side we have the supply of dollar. So there are two things are there, demand and supply. Now where demand and supply become equal, that means demand meets the supply curve, they cut each other, right? That is the intersection. Here is where we decide the exchange rate. So here we say, suppose now 80 rupees is equal to $1. So this 80 rupees equal to $1 is what we call exchange rate, right? Now what I am trying to tell you, why we are talking about internationalization of rupee, right, or de-dollarization of the dollar, etc. The problem is where when this demand and supply curve move either in this direction or that direction. So let me move the demand curve once and just show you how it affects our exchange rate. Now you see this demand curve, let's call it as a demand curve 1 initially. Now suppose samajh lo, government of like people of India suddenly started to like what we can say a particular car produced in Germany. तो इस कार का अचानक इंडिया में डिमांड बढ़ गया, तो इंडिया में सब लोग जो सोच रहे हैं चलो इस जर्मन का कार ही हम खरीदेंगे, वही कार हम गाड़ी हम चलाएंगे इंडिया में. So now what will happen? Many people will try to buy that car. So as a result what happen? They will all require dollars to pay for the car, right? So now what will happen? Automatically the demand for dollar will increase. That means what? This demand curve will shift. Okay, so if you see, therefore from demand 1 we will have a demand 2. Now suppose here we had 80 rupees equal to $1. अभी क्या हो जाएगा? When you have a new demand curve cutting the supply curve, we are in new equilibrium 2. This is called equilibrium 1. अभी देश में क्या होगा? This 80 rupees per dollar will suddenly become 90 rupees for $1. So earlier we paid just 80 rupees for $1. Now we have to pay 90 rupees for $1. Why? Because suddenly there can be an increase in demand for the dollar. Okay, even if people don't increase the demand for new car or anything, suppose the price of the petrol goes up, I mean crude oil goes up internationally, so what happens? We have to pay more and more dollar. Like Ukraine-Russia war में क्या हुआ था? See the whole context of internationalization of rupee समझने की कोशिश करो. जब से यूक्रेन-रशिया वॉर शुरू हुआ, the crude oil price went up. तो India will have to pay for the same oil but more dollar, right? So naturally what happen? Your dollar का demand goes up, so your exchange rate also goes up. That is the demand side. Supply side, what happened? Same in 2022 last year. The USA increased their Fed ka what you call their rate of interest. So they hiked the federal rates, right? The rate of interest in US. As a result, क्या हुआ था? If अगर आप US में invest करेंगे तो आपको ज़्यादा return मिलेगा क्योंकि the rate of interest is more there now. So many people what they did, they took out their money, that means the dollars from India, and they started investing in US. Now this decision of people to take money from India, that means their investment in India, the dollar, and reinvest the same dollar in US market. This will basically affect which curve? Not the demand curve but the supply curve. Why? Because the supply earlier जो foreigners India में invest किए थे, उन्होंने क्या बोला? अभी हमें इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना है, हमें हमारा डॉलर वापस चाहिए, हम यूएस में इन्वेस्ट करेंगे. So you see, as a result what happened? This supply curve also moves upwards, मतलब backwards. So if you see, here we have a new equilibrium 3. इस नया equilibrium 3 में क्या होता है? Your demand curve can still go higher with the, I mean your exchange rate can go still higher. Instead of 90, you might even end up 95 rupees for $1. Actually in India in 2022 this happened, right? Our demand for the foreign currency also increased and supply of foreign currency reduced. So demand is increasing, supply is also going down. We have a double impact. इस double impact में क्या हुआ था? Rupee began to depreciate drastically last year. So now comes the question. You are the RBI governor. What will you do? And one solution to deal with this problem of depreciation of rupee, या falling value of rupee against the dollar, was to reduce the demand for dollar by making payment for international trade in terms of rupee rather than dollar. इसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? The internationalization of rupee. So now we enter into the second part of our main topic, that is the internationalization of rupee. So now let us try to get this point. If you see, lot of news articles had come about this internationalization of rupee. Okay, so internationalization of rupee basically means what? You see, so many articles came. So here you have one definition also given by some newspaper. Internationalization of rupee basically refers to, it refers to what? The process of increased cross-border transaction. That means what? Payment of money for your export, import, etc. in terms of Indian currency. Specifically what we say import-export trades, right? That is what we call the basic current account trades. In a balance of payment, we have a current account, capital account, right? Current account mein what do we do? Normally we deal with export and import of goods and services, plus we have what we can say the remittance, yeah, gifts received, yeah, government transaction not included anywhere else, etc., etc. Also you have what we call income received from your investment, small things, they all come under the current account. So what is internationalization of rupee? Internationalization of rupee basically हमें क्या बोलता है, when India is doing an import, means purchasing something from foreign country, can you pay in rupee instead of dollar? मतलब मैंने रशिया से ऑयल खरीदा है, क्रूड ऑयल, कैन आई पे रशिया इन रूपी rather than dollar? This is the basic question of internationalization of rupee. तो आरबीआई ने 2022 में क्या किया? आरबीआई permitted many of the foreign countries, मतलब their banks, to open their escrow accounts in India, so that Indians who are purchasing any goods from foreign country can make payment in Indian rupee, not in dollar. This whole process, ये जो movement है, इसको बोलते हैं internationalization of the Indian rupee, right? तो initially हमारा plan क्या था? We will basically start with the current account of the BOP, फिर बाद में धीरे धीरे हम लोग क्या करेंगे, कैपिटल अकाउंट में भी जा सकते हैं, वेयर यू कैन इवन थिंक अबाउट इन्वेस्टिंग इन इंडियन रूपी. You know, that is a very interesting thing. So whether you can invest in foreign country in Indian rupee, you know, that is the interesting part. So the capital account transaction, even repayment, etc., etc. Okay, so there was a plenty of newspapers are full of this topic these days. You can have a look at it. It's a fully current affair topic. Also you see here, that is 6 July 2023, RBI panel recommends measures for what we can say the internationalization of rupee, right? So we have lot of what we can say news items on the internationalization of rupee, therefore it's a current affair topic, right? So I have given the basic concept in a very simple way. For exam preparation, if you are preparing for mains paper answer writing, there you have to write all this, therefore you will require this. You have to write all this, okay? For example, if you see here, so what is the internationalization of Indian rupee? It refers to the process of making the Indian rupee a global currency. You know, that is what we also today talking about, de-dollarization. Okay, so the de-dollarization, the process for foreign trade. Okay, so we can make payment in Indian rupee. Classroom का start कर दो. Okay, start कर दो. मुझे 10-15 मिनट लगेगा. That means what? India would be able to do all the international settlement of trade in Indian rupee. You know, that is the key point. So what we are trying to say, that Indian rupee can be used for making foreign trade, मतलब paying for our imports, etc. You know, so that is the simple thing of what we call the internationalization of rupee. So here, instead of using foreign currency like the US dollar, या pound, या yen, can we use the Indian rupee? So in simple way, if you see here, the same thing I have put here, it refers to the process of cross-border transaction, okay, especially in Indian rupee for the export-import trade. Then slowly we will think about other current account and capital account, etc., etc. Okay, so please keep in mind, exam के लिए एक concept अगर आपको पूछा जाता है mains में, what is the internationalization of Indian rupee? It is undertaking foreign trade settlement, that means payment of bills, yeah, receiving of money, okay, in terms of Indian rupee rather than the US dollar or any other foreign currency. This is generally the concept of the internationalization of Indian rupee. Okay. Now I have put a small topic here, आपको समझ में आने के लिए. Now, why do we need this? What is the need for the internationalization of Indian rupee. Therefore if you see, जनरली हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं, द यूएस का जो डॉलर है, दिस यूएस डॉलर बेसिकली डोमिनेट्स द ग्लोबल फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मार्केट, बिकॉज मोस्टली द डॉलर इज यूज्ड फॉर इंटरनेशनल सेटलमेंट. देयरफॉर व्हाट हैपन, डॉलर का डिमांड भी ज्यादा है, डॉलर का वेट भी मार्केट में थोड़ा ज्यादा है. एज अ रिजल्ट क्या होता है, इंडियन ट्रेडर्स नॉर्मली दे नीड लॉट ऑफ फॉरेन करेंसी टू मेक देयर बिल्स, मतलब टू पे देयर बिल्स. तो हमने जो भी खर्चा, मतलब इफ सपोज यू इंपोर्टेड गोल्ड या से मोबाइल्स और एनी टेक्नोलॉजी फ्रॉम फॉरेन कंट्री, तो क्या करना पड़ता है, हमें फॉरेन करेंसी में पे करना पड़ता है. दैट मीन्स यू हैव टू हैव द फॉरेन करेंसी. दैट मीन्स यू हैव टू गो टू द मार्केट, यू हैव टू बाय द फॉरेन करेंसी बाय पेइंग रूपी. अगर फॉरेन करेंसी का रेट बढ़ गया, दैट मीन्स यू गो इनटू अ लॉस. So this is what we call in economics transaction cost, you know. So the transaction cost also is involved there. So the third point मैंने इधर क्या दिया, therefore the demand for US dollar leads to rupee का one important issue, depreciation. What is the meaning of depreciation of rupee? We have to pay more and more and more rupee to get $1. For example, लास्ट ईयर समझ लो हमने 70 रुपीज पे किया टू गेट अ डॉलर. इस साल हमें 80 रुपीज पे करना पड़ेगा, मतलब 10 रुपया हमें ज्यादा पे करना पड़ेगा फॉर गेटिंग अ डॉलर. यू जस्ट थिंक अबाउट इट, लास्ट ईयर यू गॉट 1 किलो चिकन फॉर 70 एंड दिस ईयर फॉर 1 किलो चिकन यू आर पेइंग 80. सेम थिंग. सो वी फील बैड, अरे चिकन का प्राइस बढ़ गया. सेम थिंग, डॉलर का प्राइस भी बढ़ गया. नाउ दिस इज व्हाट इन इकोनॉमिक्स टर्मिनोलॉजी वी कॉल इट एज अ depreciation of rupee, right? So that leads to a big problem. When everybody demands dollar, there can be depreciation of rupee. And so in India, as I told you earlier, जब यूएस ने in 2022 में जब यूएस ने अपना देश में रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट बढ़ा दिया, तो सब फॉरेनर्स इन्वेस्टर्स क्या सोचे थे, अभी इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करके फायदा नहीं है, चलो हम यूएस में जाकर यूएस का मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करेंगे. तो उन्होंने क्या किया, उनका जो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट था इंडिया में वो सबको सेल करके पैसा वापस निकाल के यूएस में लेके गया. दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल कैपिटल फ्लाइट. ओके, सी छोटा छोटा कॉन्सेप्ट जो है ये आपको समझना चाहिए, नहीं तो टॉपिक में थोड़ा इधर उधर रह जाएगा. तो व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ कैपिटल फ्लाइट? इट इज द मूवमेंट ऑफ फॉरेन करेंसी फ्रॉम इंडिया इन अ वेरी क्विक मैनर. नो, सो कैपिटल फ्लाइट टुक प्लेस फ्रॉम इंडिया इन 2022 in response to the increased interest rate in US, and therefore India on the one side our demand went up, on the other side supply also fell. So there was a need, therefore there was a requirement to see some solution, and one of the solution, as I told you already, is the internationalization of Indian rupee, right? So the third point, so the next year, shortage of foreign currency also lead to BOP crisis. So if you want to avoid a BOP crisis, then there was a need, then we have to do something. And so RBI ने सोचा चलो internationalization of rupee will be like one solution. And the most important thing, the need for internationalizing our rupee is to reduce our dependency in US dollar. Because what happened, India all the time, most of the time our trade, all settlement is in dollar. So how can we reduce this pressure for having more and more dollar? Simply is to pay in rupee and no need to require any more dollar. That whole move is what we call this internationalization. तो एग्जाम में अगर आपको सवाल आ गया था, समझ लो, सोचिए, what is the need for internationalization of rupee, analyze, then you have to explain what happened in 2022, because this whole thing of internationalization of rupee started in 2022 in a major way, right? Therefore you should not forget this. So therefore I have given few points even for your exam preparation also. You can take these things, okay? You can pause the video if you want, you can write it down, or you can make your own notes here. From here you can make your own points also, right? So these are few important points on the need for internationalization of rupee. Now आपको ऐसा भी मेंस में टॉपिक में सवाल पूछा जा सकता है, what initiatives, measures या steps taken by RBI to promote internationalism of rupee. So only knowing what is internationalization of rupee is not enough. उसमें हमें यह भी देखना पड़ेगा इसके लिए आरबीआई ने किया क्या, what steps have been taken by the government and RBI. So some key points इधर मैंने आपको शॉर्ट में दिया है. इसका पहला पॉइंट क्या है? The number one, the thing that we can talk about, RBI permitted banks to open what we call vostro account. तो आप सोचेंगे अभी ये vostro account क्या है? Okay, this was in July 2022. So I have given here what is vostro accounts. So if you see here, what is the vostro account? This vostro account enables payments for imports from Russia to be made in rupee. जो मैंने आपको पहले से ही बोला था. The whole question is, मैंने रशिया से क्रूड ऑयल खरीद लिया. Now the question is, should I pay it in dollar या should I pay it in rupee? So if I want to pay it in rupee, that Russian, my partner, is bank which is in Russia, it should have a bank also in India. A branch should be here. Then only I can pay. But suppose if they don't have, then what to do? How do I pay? So to solve this problem, अभी क्या होता है, मेरा कस्टमर मतलब मेरा पार्टनर जो मुझे एक्सपोर्ट करता है रशिया से, उसका जो बैंक है, उस बैंक क्या करेगा, इंडिया में किसी बैंक में एक अकाउंट खोलेगा उसका कस्टमर के लिए. इसका मतलब क्या है, सपोज इंडिया में स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया है. नाउ स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया विल एक्सेप्ट एंड ओपन एन अकाउंट फॉर ए फॉरेन बैंक. ओके, सो ए फॉरेन बैंक का कोई कस्टमर है, उसके नाम पे अकाउंट इधर खोलेगा. सो व्हेन आई बाय पेट्रोल फ्रॉम रशिया फ्रॉम समबडी, what will I do? I will go to this SBI in India and I will make payment in rupee but into the account of a foreigner, and that payment that fellow will take it in rupee or he will convert and take it in local currency, right? So this whole question, therefore, what is an vostro account? The vostro account is a facility. So if you read it here carefully, this was to enable payments for imports basically from Russia, because this particular bank is from Russia. Okay, therefore we are using the term here Russia because this is Russia ka Gazprom bank which was allowed to open account in India. Okay, so now what happened, this account will be opened in India, in Indian bank. It will be, payments will be made in Indian rupee. Okay, so it will be credited to what we call the vostro account. So now Indian importers can make payments using the rupee. Okay, that's a special account, the vostro account, made in the name of exporter. So the same thing I explained to you. जो एक्सपोर्टर है, जिसने हमें गुड्स भेजा है, उसके नाम पे उसका ही बैंक अकाउंट में हम रुपी में पैसा यहां से पे कर सकते हैं. For that, that bank has to open an account. That account को क्या बोलते हैं? vostro account. Okay, very simple. So RBI in 2022 also permitted opening of this what we call vostro account. समझ में आ गया? Number 2, currency swap. Currency swap means what? Exchange of currency between two countries at particular exchange rate. When two countries agree, suppose if you see some particular country के पास ज्यादा रुपया चला गया and they don't know what to do, then what to do with that rupee? It's useless for them. So we have to find solution how we can swap it later on. Okay, so if you see, the RBI signed currency swap agreements with many countries, okay, which allow for the exchange of rupee and foreign currency between the central banks of these two countries like Japan, UAE, Sri Lanka, like many other countries. Now slowly RBI is entering into agreement. This also came in the news very much. So if you see the business line ka news, Japan and India, they both renew their bilateral swap agreement, that is the arrangement up to 75 billion. Okay, So that is where they will do the currency swap. So these are some of the ऑफिशियल स्टेप्स टेकन बाय आरबीआई. एग्जाम में आपको ये सब लिखने से आपका आंसर का क्वालिटी थोड़ा अच्छा आएगा. राइट. पॉइंट नंबर 3, प्रमोशन ऑफ रूपी डिनोमिनेटेड बॉन्ड्स. इसको नॉर्मली क्या बोलते हैं, तो पुराना टॉपिक है, क्वाइट फ्यू इयर्स इट इज गोइंग ऑन. दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल मसाला बॉन्ड्स. It is called the rupee denominated bonds. That means what? Though you borrow money, dollars, but you value it in rupee at the time of settlement. Okay. So that is the masala bond. This also is been promoted by RBI. ECB, external commercial borrowing, right? One of the supply ka factors I told you. When RBI permits our Indian private business people to borrow in foreign currency, so dollar flows into India, right? So also here what happened, they allow the external commercial borrowing also in rupee terms, so that you have to payment and settlement can be done in rupee. Bilateral trade agreement, it means what? Bilateral मतलब दो कंट्री के बीच में जो अग्रीमेंट होता है. सपोज इफ टू कंट्रीज मेक एन अग्रीमेंट दैट हम दोनों ट्रेड करेंगे, इस ट्रेड में जो भी पेमेंट होगा वो रूपी में हो जाएगा. इसको क्या बोलते हैं? बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट्स बिटवीन टू कंट्री. सो द गवर्नमेंट आल्सो असाइन्ड सेवरल लाइक बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट्स विथ अदर कंट्री लाइक श्रीलंका, नेपाल, भूटान एक्सेट्रा, एंड सम अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज आल्सो. Okay, currently about around 18 countries or so are ready to trade with India in Indian rupee. No, that is a bilateral agreement. The last point here I mentioned also one initiative taken. See, in July 2022, RBI announced a scheme that is called investing the surplus. Suppose if a particular country trading with India got lot of rupees, right? That is surplus for them. They don't know what to do. So the particular exporter from their country, what he can do with that rupee? So what RBI said, you can use the same rupee to invest in Indian market. मतलब you can buy some assets like what we call government का security etc etc. So if you see they can use the surplus rupees in the Indian bond markets. They can invest the money instead of wasting it or filling it as a surplus. So now what happens, because of all these arrangements, it is now easier to trade and payment made in rupee. तो एग्जाम में आपको सवाल पूछा जाने का चांसेस है कि आरबीआई ने या गवर्नमेंट ने क्या स्टेप्स लिया है टू प्रमोट द इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ द इंडियन रूपी. ये सब पॉइंट्स आप लिख सकते हैं, क्योंकि आपका 150 या 250 वर्ड्स में पूरा डिटेल लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. कम से कम आप सेटलमेंट क्या बोलते हैं, ये सब टाइटल लिख के थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन करने से भी आपका मेंस का आंसर बन जाता है. ओके तो ये सब ऑलरेडी मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया. नाउ वी आर आस्किंग द लास्ट पार्ट, व्हाट इज द एडवांटेज, व्हाई डू वी नीड दिस इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ रूपी. इसमें इंडिया का बेनिफिट क्या है? बहुत सारा टीवी चैनल्स, यू नो, एक्सपर्ट्स फ्रॉम बैंक्स, फ्रॉम फॉरेन ट्रेड एनालिस्ट्स, बहुत सारा लोगों ने आके यू नो बहुत चीजें डिस्कस किया है. सो आई एम ट्राइंग टू गिव यू हियर सम हाइलाइट्स, okay, which you can use it for exam. Also it will help you to understand yourself the topic, right? Number 1, once you have a de-dollarization या internationalization of rupee then what happens, it will eliminate, मतलब remove the need for foreign exchange transaction. That means what, you don't have to worry about what is the price of a dollar, you just have to pay it in rupee, you know, so that tension will be reduced. Number 2, it also reduces the cost of doing business. Why? Suppose if I have to every time pay it in dollar, every time dollar goes up, like when I plan my business, estimate my business, I think that okay, मुझे ये सब फॉरेन से खरीदना पड़ेगा, उसको लिए मुझे 80 रुपीज पे करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन आखिर में जब मार्केट में एक्चुअली खरीदता हूं तब वो एक्सचेंज रेट हो गया 90 रुपीज, मतलब 10 रुपया हर यूनिट का वेस्ट होता है. मतलब you are spending more, means your business can also go into a loss, you will not be making any profit as such. So this is another issue, right? The next one, benefits of having a trade in rupee, it provides opportunity to diversify foreign exchange reserve. मतलब क्या है, instead of all the time keeping only in dollar, now also recent news came that India का reserve of gold is increasing, right? Now what is the advantage? हम लोग हमेशा क्या करते थे, डॉलर में ही रिजर्व रखते थे, अभी उसकी जरूरत नहीं होगा. Now we can also think of keeping foreign reserve in other currency. Yeah, you can keep it in what we can say gold also. Okay, so the advantage is what? It will give us the chance to diversify our exchange reserve. The next point, it also provides a stability to exchange rate, because there won't be too much of demand for dollar, because many people will be making their payment settlement in rupee. So the unnecessary speculation, pressure, demand for dollar गिर जाएगा. As a result, possibilities are there. What is the possibility? You can have some stability in the exchange rate. You know, that's a great advantage. The next one, it reduces our dependency on a single currency. एक ही करेंसी के ऊपर ज्यादा डिपेंड करने से you can diversify into a multiple currency. Therefore, that will be an advantage for India. Also, it helps Indian banks to reduce the dependence on US dollar, so they don't have to unnecessarily keep a stock of the dollar, you know, try to speculate that, etc. The next one, it will also provide opportunity for various companies to expand their customer base, because they can easily receive in rupee and pay it in rupee. So that easy business mode, so where you can easily settle the things in rupee, you can have more customers in some foreign country where they are also finding it easy to settle in rupee. And also it will make it easier for many countries to plan and execute trade, investment, etc. मतलब you can plan your business model. How will you use the rupee? How will you settle it? No, that way. Because what happens if you use the dollar, there is always uncertainty. How much rupee, how many rupees we have to pay for the dollar. So every day it keeps on changing. Whereas you are just paying it in rupee, you don't have that much tension. You can plan how much to borrow, how much to take loan, how much to invest, etc., etc. So these are some of the advantages which have been discussed by experts on various forums. Okay, so I'm just trying to provide you the major highlights of that. And for your exam point of view, what I have done, I have tried to put the same thing in a summary form. Okay, so what are the advantages? Yeah, arguments for internationalization of rupee. Number one, it reduces the dependence on US dollar. When you use our own currency as an international currency, हमारा देश का credibility भी बन जाता है, right? And also it reduces the exchange rate का risk, ऐसे explain किया था. It also reduces transaction cost, etc., etc. So this section I have basically prepared for your mains answer writing. Okay, so the conclusion. So what is the conclusion? What is the current status? Current status is more and more countries have come forward to trade in Indian rupee. That means rupee is slowly becoming a global currency. But there are challenges. Country like Russia recently said they have accumulated a lot of Indian rupee and they don't know what to do. You know, that's an issue. What will they do? So we have to find alternatives. Challenges will keep on coming. RBI is working on it. इसलिए आजकल बहुत सारा न्यूज आर्टिकल्स इस टॉपिक के ऊपर आ रहे हैं. So now you know what is the exchange rate, why we need the Indian rupee to become a global currency. So what is the meaning of internationalization of rupee, right? What steps have been taken by RBI? What is the need for this internationalization of rupee? And what are the advantages? ये सब आपको मैंने explain किया है. इसके बाद आपको क्या देखना है? Challenges इसमें क्या क्या emerge हो रहे हैं अभी, क्योंकि जैसा हम इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन करते करते जाएंगे आगे, वैसा चैलेंज भी नया 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 आते रहेंगे. सो दैट बिकम्स आवर करंट अफेयर. सो दिस इज अ वेरी मच अ करंट अफेयर टॉपिक. इसमें अभी तक जो है वो मैंने आपको एक्सप्लेन किया है. तो आने वाला कुछ महीनों में आरबीआई का नया डिसीजन क्या होगा, या गवर्नमेंट का कुछ नया डिसीजन क्या होगा, ये आपको न्यूज़पेपर में आएगा. If you follow that and start writing down your answer, I am 100% sure एग्जाम में, मेंस में ये सब बहुत इजी हो जाएगा. इसी में कुछ कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट्स आपको प्रीलिम्स में भी पूछा जाने का चांसेस है, बिकॉज इट इज पार्ट ऑफ अ चैप्टर कॉल्ड एक्सचेंज रेट एंड ऑल्सो बीओपी. ओके, so I hope you understood this topic, and it's an interesting topic, the internationalization of rupee. So I try to explain from the basic what are the things why we need to do this. Okay, so you keep studying, reading newspaper, and I will see you in the next class with another topic.